Welcome back to Music Kingdom, and back by very popular demand, another first-time listen blind review of a metal song. In case you're new, as mentioned in the first review, I would consider my tastes to be very diverse and eclectic, spanning multiple genres and decades. However, the genre of metal, the history of metal, the artistry of metal, the intricacies of metal is one that I am only just now beginning to dip my toes into, and boy, does the water feel good. While I have no intention of Music Kingdom turning into Metal Kingdom, I must say I am very excited to listen to, give a music theory breakdown for, and blindly review Hallowed Be Thy Name by Iron Maiden. Let's get to it. Hang tight. Hey music lovers, my name is Francis. If you'd like to support the work I put into these videos, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Speaking of subscribers, this is the first video this channel has made since surpassing 1,000 in just, 4 short months, so I am extremely grateful and blown away. And of course, as always, if you'd like to support the channel even further, you'll find Music Kingdom's Patreon and other affiliate links in the description below. Alright, now before we give the song a listen, let's first briefly talk Hallowed Be Thy Name by Iron Maiden. Quick disclaimer, I would like to acknowledge this is by no means an obscure deep cut by Iron Maiden. In fact, to my knowledge, and take a shot every time I say to my knowledge in this video, this is perhaps the most famous Iron Maiden song to ever be made. And in addition to that, according to the internet, this is considered one of the best metal songs ever recorded, and according to many people, this song is literally considered the best metal song ever recorded. So I just wanted to make it clear, as someone who is also very passionate and a diehard fan of a number of bands and artists, that by selecting Hallowed Be Thy Name, it's really no different than choosing Stayin' Alive by the Bee Gees or Thriller by Michael Jackson. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, and I encourage you guys in the comments to let me know which Iron Maiden recommendations you have for this channel to review as well. Being brand new to Iron Maiden, I had to start somewhere, and based off of what the internet said and what recommendations by some of my metalhead friends have said, I had it narrowed down to about 3 or 4 tracks by Iron Maiden, but once I heard that this one, Hallowed Be Thy Name, is considered one of the greatest metal songs ever, I knew I had to go with that. I'm also going to say thanks to those of you who saw my first metal reaction, my introduction to Metallica, letting me know all kinds of recommendations. I got recommendations, yes, for Iron Maiden. I got recommendations for Tool, for Pantera. My metal journey is off to a strong start thanks to you guys. And of course, at this point in my videos of the songs that this channel reviews, typically we are going over history, context, facts, trivia regarding either the album itself, the track itself, or the artist. But similar to what I said in the Metallica video, with 99% of you watching this being true metalheads, knowing far more than myself, I am going to once again encourage you guys to let me and other people new to Iron Maiden know any history, facts, context, trivia regarding Hallowed Be Thy Name and the album itself. Now for what it's worth, I will be going over some basic knowledge regarding this song and the album just in case someone stumbles upon this video not really knowing too much about Iron Maiden, but otherwise I will ask you guys to fill in the rest. Hallowed Be Thy Name is a track from Metallica's 3rd studio album, The Number of the Beast, released in 1982. To my knowledge, this is the first album to feature Bruce Dickinson and the last to feature Clive Burr. And since I'm asking you guys to fill in a lot of the blanks regarding the context of the making of this album or Iron Maiden themselves or the track itself, I will only select just a few little things I loved learning about this album or the song. One of which is a quote that I absolutely love. If an alien recently arrived on Earth, wanted to know what heavy metal was, you could spend hours explaining its manifold complexities, or you could just play them. Hallowed be thy name. They would get the idea. Something else I'm super curious about that you guys will have to confirm or deny for me is music press reports told stories of unexplained phenomena occurring during the sessions at Battery Studios, such as lights turning on and off of their own accord and the recording gear mysteriously breaking down. These odd occurrences climaxed when Birch was involved in a car accident with a mini bus transporting a group of nuns, after which he was presented a repair bill of $666. Now, I don't know if you guys know much about the 70s film The Exorcist, but it is eerily similar regarding injuries or deaths or just bad luck things that would happen on set. Either way, I find it absolutely fascinating. And what I will say about this album or Iron Maiden themselves is that I am, when learning about music, such a student of the history and the context regarding when an album came out, how it was received, and knowing that this came came out in 1982 with such blatant, albeit expressive and artistic, references to the occult or Satanism, things of that nature, that if you think about, in 1982, this was the dawn of Ronald Reagan's presidency. This is the beginning of a new era, at least in the United States, that was very conservative, that was very Christian. They were kicking drugs, they were cleaning up the streets, to a point where, in an era of rock music is basically the devil, this song, this album, this band must have been so controversial at the time, pissing off at least a lot of moms and grandmas. But all these years later, I am glad that we can now have reverence for it, that we can appreciate it for what it is. So now at long last, it's time to give the song a listen, and since I got so many comments in the Metallica review screaming at me not to skip through the song, I want it to be more enjoyable for you guys. So instead, this time, to avoid copyright strikes, I will be periodically pausing to give my thoughts on the song, and be sure to stick around after the song for a music theory breakdown from our expert, and then we're going to divide the song into different categories, grading them each and arriving at an overall score. Love the drama so far.
I'm waiting in my cold cell when the bell begins to chime, reflecting on my past life, and it doesn't have much time, 'cause at 5 o'clock they take me to the gallows pole.
So well written already. And I like his slow vibrato.
The sands of time for me are running low.
From the start, I already love the theatrics, I already love the drama. It's as if they're really setting a table for this amazing meal that you're about to eat. And you guys will have to tell me in the comments, I don't know about all metal, but specifically Iron Maiden, I have heard that they do have quite the flair for the dramatic, for creating something almost like a movie, a listening experience that is very vivid.
The sands of time for me are running low.
Hold that note. What an introduction. I love that. Had to put the water down. Oh man. For whatever reason, I feel like a lot of people who don't know metal assume it's not like this.
When the priest comes to read me the last rites, take a look to the bowels of the last sites of a world that has gone very wrong for me. Can it be that there's some sort of error? How to stop the surmounting terror? Is it really the end, not some crazy dream?
Great vocals.
Somebody please tell me that I'm dreaming.
Oh my God.
It's not easy to stop from screaming. The words escape me when I try to speak. Tears forward, why am I crying? After all, I'm not afraid of dying.
And the story that they're telling. Already, I feel myself sucked into the story of the song, in addition to how well put together it is compositionally. While I did do my research on Iron Maiden, this song and this album for this video, I did want to leave myself a little bit blind, so I purposefully tried to avoid anything too revealing about the lyrics. But from what I can tell, it is a beautifully and quite poetically told story of someone in a cell, with their death seemingly impending. Throw in the very impressive vocals and the style of the song, and it's making, so far, for quite the experience. love what the guitars are doing.
As the gods must be out to the culture. Somebody cries from the cell, got me with you. If there's a God, why does he let me go?
This belting is so impressive. Oh, what a line. As the song progresses, not to be redundant, but I'm getting more and more invested in the writing of this song. Already I could tell it was very well written. It had a lot of imagery. It put you in the atmosphere, in the mindset of that person in that place. But as the song progresses, it goes from just that to something that, in spite of the style or genre of music, are truly beautiful lyrics. You really empathize with this fictitious character they've created, and so to write something so effectively and to deliver it with the right vocals to where it really drives home and you feel it, in my opinion, is no easy thing to do. And while of course I don't claim to be a metalhead by any means, I do find it unfair that so much of what's said about metal or thought about metal or dismissed about metal by people who do not listen to metal is that because I think of the very niche style, the acquired taste that metal is, people just are quick to not really take the songwriting aspect of the genre seriously. Compositionally, you want it to do more. And as soon as I say that, I do like the tempo shifts. Very sharp. Oh my god. What a smooth transition. Imagine the rehearsals necessary to execute this. Oh my god. Face melting. Man. Wow. It's like an adventure. Wow. As of right now, and I can't forget to remember this feeling later when I'm breaking the song down and scoring it, but I am blown away by this song. It is such a fun experience, and I'm very impressed with how, while I will say compositionally it's not really too complex, at least with chords and things like that, where it kind of sounds like a lot of the same, even though what they're doing on top of it's very intricate and complex. Even still, they manage to make it stay fresh, and they do it in a way where it doesn't really get redundant. Repetitive, yes, but there's a difference, in my opinion, a difference between repetitive and redundant. And what can be said about that solo? It really makes me think about how perfect you have to be, especially in this era. We're talking, what, 40, give or take, years ago, with the lack of technology that we have today, to really just, all right, we're gonna start performing the song, we're gonna start recording the song, and any slip up, it's over. So in addition to everything else so far, the lyrics, the vocals, how it's put together, I am immensely impressed with just flat out the execution of it. It reminds me of some abstract Chicago songs from the late 60s, early 70s, that band right there, where they had like 12-minute pieces that were jazz rock, and they had to be flawless. And this is similar in the sense of the complexities being nailed perfectly. Love that. What a note. Wow. What a finish. You really want it to keep going. Initial thoughts before we go to the expert's corner for the music theory breakdown, and before I break apart the song into categories arriving at an overall score. As mentioned, I don't want to be redundant, but wow. Whether we're talking about the insane vocal performance, whether we're talking about the very intricate composition, whether we're talking about how sharp it is, whether we're talking about the very original and artistic vision that the song has, or whether we're talking about one of the strongest points of the song for me subjectively, which would be the lyrics, as my proper introduction to Iron Maiden, because to be fair, I'm sure I've probably heard them around or maybe listened to some over the years, but with this being my first proper, intricate, intentional listen to Iron Maiden, I am very excited to hear more of their stuff. And if I'm comparing this introduction to Iron Maiden with my introduction to Metallica, which was Master of Puppets, as far as just introductions go, I would probably pick this one just because of how I subjectively enjoyed it, though I would argue Master of Puppets was a bit more of a composition. And I don't mean to compare, I don't mean to put them against each other, right? But that's really the only other first time listen experience that I have to compare this to. Either way, excellent first listen, a feeling I'm sure many of you wish that you could probably get back. Now, one thing I will dare to say that might get me eviscerated in the comments is that, at least at the moment, I'm not quite sure what about that song, as great as it is, makes that considered one of, if not the best metal song to ever be made. I'll elaborate further later on as I'm breaking apart the song into different categories, but for now, even if it's just by Iron Maiden or Metallica or Tool or a number of other metal bands past and present, in y'all's opinions, there's the Texan in me. In you guys' opinions, I'm sure you have your own best metal song of all time, so let me and others know what you think in the comments below. But before I have the audacity to thoroughly review the song, let's first go to the expert's corner for a music theory breakdown.
Welcome to the Expert's Corner. This is Hallowed Be Thy Name by Iron Maiden. This song is in the time signature of 4/4 and it's in the key of E minor. Now, as far as chord progressions go, this song is actually incredibly simple. Let me show you what's going on. So for pretty much all of the song, there are 3 chords. You have E minor, you have C major, and you have D major. So throughout the song, various riffs and solos are played over that very simple chord progression, sometimes in different orders. One of them sounds a little like this. However, just because I'm saying that the song is simple chord progression-wise doesn't mean it's a simple song. On top of these very basic chords, you have some of the most intricate things. Insanely skillful and intricate guitar licks and solos, super drumming. This is probably one of the first Iron Maiden songs I've ever heard, but I was super into it, and I really loved the intricacy. I think that's the word of what I appreciate most in this song. That despite having such a simple music theory skeleton, all of the intricacies on top are what make it such a beautiful work of art. I'm taking some points away because I think that for such a long song that has such extended instrumental sections, I would like it to have a little bit more diversity as far as the chords go. I think it does get a bit repetitive despite all the awesome things sprinkled on top of it. And so with that in mind, I'm going to give this song a 7 out of 10. Back to you, Francis.
A very special thank you to our expert for providing a music theory breakdown and giving this song a modest but healthy 7 out of 10. But fear not, because there are 5 more categories to grade individually, and then we'll arrive at an overall score. Starting out with composition specifically, I'm inclined to give this song's composition a strong 7.5 out of 10. As I was listening to the song, I was arriving at what I assume were some of the same things that he had to say about it, just regarding how even though a lot of what is going on with the guitar, with the drumming, etc., is intricate and is complex, the structure of the song overall, if we're literally talking composition, chords, things of that nature, to be honest, at least in my opinion, no, it wasn't necessarily anything truly amazing, but I think that speaks more to this song being compared to other metal songs which might have much more strong, creative, artistic, abstract compositions, because when you put this song specifically up against any normal song of any other genre, of any other decade, its composition is still excellent and very much holds up. Whether we're talking shifts in tempo, certain breakdowns, or even the melodic composition of how the vocals were singing too, I would say that this is just about as good as it can be without being great. Strictly speaking, composition, which is why, in my opinion, a 7.5 reflects that. Up next, we have production specifically, which I am very quickly learning is difficult to grade regarding the genre of metal. Even still, feel free to disagree with me. I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. Now, why is this? Well, regarding the genre of metal or even hard rock itself, these are genres that famously have no production or have minimal production to deliver something that is raw, but polished and put together nicely. So it's not like songs of old where they might throw some brass in there, throw some strings in there, or songs of today where they might produce certain sounds and colors and layers to a production that really fill up your ears. So while I'd be inclined to give this song's production, or I guess in general other metal songs productions, an NA for not applicable instead of a 0 so that it doesn't hurt the score, I still think to some extent this song does have production. Hear me out. In my opinion, the way this song is put together, creativity to have the guitar do something specific here, to have the drumming do something specific there, to tie it up together and make it efficient, to make it sharp, on top of, in my opinion, knowing how to have the vocal performance complement these other intricacies and layers in a song, layers that might not be produced by technology, but layers that are instruments. Feel free to disagree with me, but in my head, I would technically consider that production. And since in its own way it is what I would consider minimal, I'm not gonna go higher than a 5 or a 6, but simply because of the excellence of this song and how sharp and perfectly executed it was, I will give it a 6.5. Moving right along, we have vocals, which I am giving a very rare 9 out of 10. I have a feeling of all the categories, this one might be the shortest just in terms of what I have to say about it, because there really isn't too much to say about it. This is one of the better vocal performances that this channel has reviewed yet. Now, for example, when I was reviewing Master of Puppets by Metallica, I believe I gave those vocals a 7 or a 7.5, because while I acknowledged and respected how difficult the delivery was to have that sound, to have that grit in your voice, he wasn't necessarily doing anything vocally impressive otherwise, whether it be falsetto, vibrato, belting a certain note. But in this song, he is. And typically, regardless of whatever genre this channel is reviewing, I usually hold it to the highest standards of some of the best vocalists in the history of the music industry. And I gotta say, a majority of them could not deliver a song like this. If I'm going off the top of my head trying to name people, past or present, who can hit notes like this, at least very well-known names in the history of the music industry, you have perhaps someone like Stevie Wonder, however his voice was too buttery and smooth. He could hit the notes, but it wouldn't sound as good. You have someone maybe like Brendan Urie, the lead singer of Panic at the Disco, who could belt and hit those notes and he has a bit more scratch. Michael Jackson, obviously, in my opinion, if you've heard songs like Dirty Diana, for example, he has probably the closest thing to a metal sound in terms of the grunge and the grit and the scratch that you're looking for. But regardless, that's my point. There aren't a lot of people past and present who could do it at least this well, this flawlessly, and make it sound, to some extent, easy when it's not. Moving on to our next category, we have lyrics, which I am also giving a very rare 9 out of 10. And perhaps 9s out of 10s are getting a bit less rare the more I review great music. But yes, in my opinion, sounding a little bit cocky saying this, but being someone who takes pride in listening to music of multiple genres and multiple decades, I have heard few songs that are as good or better written than this one. Sure, we could talk about modern day poets in the songwriting pen to paper medium such as Neil Diamond or Billy Joel, but this song, to my knowledge, is penned by Steve Harris, the bassist, I believe, and just wow, there is a sense of poetry in the lyrics. There is a beautiful imagery in the lyrics, and you are automatically transported to the mind of this person who literally has his death impending and the very mortal thoughts he's having as he approaches his death. And there might be some ways to write that without taste, but this, in my opinion, was so tastefully done, with some of the lines of the lyrics being stunning and gorgeous, which, as I mentioned before, is unfortunately kind of ignored when talking about the genre of metal to people who are not into metal, because again, the style of it is so hard-hitting and so loud, as some people who really don't have the acquired taste for it might think. Now lastly, arriving at our final category of originality and or inspiration, I am giving this song yet another 9 out of 10. And I believe this is one of the first times, if not the first time on this channel, that a song has gotten a 9, a 9, and a 9 in a row. But yes, in this category of originality and or inspiration, I am looking for that. Other synonyms might be vision or artistry or creativity, or creating something that is truly unique and doesn't really sound like anything else, and evidently standing the test of time. If we were to ignore and push aside this song's reputation as one of the greatest metal songs ever made, even still, with the lyrics, with the vocal delivery, with how it's put together, with the structure of it, I would still say, regardless of its reputation, it is a very original and inspired song. It does have vision, it is fresh, it is creative, it is inspired, and to my point of it being original and inspired, you would have trouble finding other songs with similar lyrical content, and if you do, they're not going to be penned as well as this. So finally, if we add it all up, throw in the expert score and average it out, Hallowed Be Thy Name by Iron Maiden from their third studio album, The Number of the Beast, released in 1982, gets exactly an 8 out of 10. And while this is my subjective opinion, obviously I'm assuming most of you would give it a 9 or a 10, it does bring me back to my subjective point, I admit, of me wondering if this really is the best metal song ever made. Wouldn't the best metal song ever made perhaps get a 9 or a 10, at least with the criteria and reasons that I provide when I grade a song? But even still, with everything divided and graded individually, arriving at an 8 out of 10 is still very strong, and in my opinion, anything above a 7.9, so 8s, 9s, and 10s, are truly great, which in my opinion, I feel this song is. But of course, you guys will have to let me know in the comments if I'm batshit crazy, if I'm a bit warmer, if I'm a bit colder, if I'm right on the money, as well as what you would consider to be the greatest metal song ever made. In addition to that, any history, context, facts, trivia regarding Iron Maiden, this album, or this song would be greatly appreciated, and not just for me, but for anyone else new to them who might be stumbling upon this video. And of course, for me personally, since I am dipping my toes into the metal genre and I've liked what I've heard so far from Iron Maiden, any specific next steps for Iron Maiden would be greatly appreciated. Let me know what you'd like for this channel to review next, and of course, if you'd like to support myself and the work I put into these videos, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you'd like to support the channel even further, you'll find Music Kingdom's Patreon and other affiliate links in the description below. This has been another edition of Music Kingdom. Thank you so much for listening with me. Thank you for the 1,000 subscribers, and I'll look forward to jamming with you in the next one.